haven't done it in a while, so I'll get right into it. Again, my name is Brett. Some people call me Bam. I am with Better Than Unicorns, and VR is our medium of choice, so that's virtual reality. We started the company in May of 2017, so we've been going strong for 3 years, and we've been doing that based on 3 key strategies. One is to be first in the market, so we could define the space, and we could do it right? So then we could have some sense of knowledge and awareness as the market becomes more and more ready for spatial computing, virtual reality, augmented reality, things of that nature. The way we did this was we diversified. So we became sort of junkies for anything that would be around the spatial computing area. We'd followed our curiosity, but most important, we would look for where is the market ready for today. And that started with architectural visualization, but we also got into disaster relief training and preparedness. We also got into design and a whole slew of other things. Some of those were potential winners, but not now. Some of those were winners and now, and many of them were losers. So we got real good at something that we call failing fast. So you may not be able to see it very clearly, but here's a card that we make that says failing fast. And I'll get back to the cards in a second. Our mission, ultimately, what we found is that as people go in and out of virtual reality, you may have heard it called an empathy machine. And if you haven't, I encourage you to type in VR empathy machine, and you'll get a whole slew of articles and videos that are interesting to watch. But what's really happening in creating empathy is that we're expanding awareness. We're increasing people's awareness, and that allows for empathy to then be exercised because I have a greater awareness about a situation or an individual. So what we determined was our mission about halfway through the 3 years that we've been involved is that we want to expand your awareness. And we do that by delivering and designing fantastic virtual reality experiences. Now, virtual reality is just the medium currently of choice. As I mentioned a moment ago, spatial computing is the more broad umbrella that covers virtual reality, augmented reality, holograms, things of that nature. But right now, we're very specifically focused on virtual reality for several key reasons. Okay, so I know the question that's on your mind, not because I'm a mind reader, but because I've been at the business for long enough to know that you want to know where the name came from. Am I right? Okay, so this part I need you to participate in. So if you don't have your video on, you'll need to type in the notes. I'm going to give you 4 options. Okay, I'm going to have you hold up a finger or put it into chat. Did our name come from the company wife? Or is the name about your imagination? Better Than Unicorns. What's Better Than Unicorns? It's in your imagination. Is it because we're real? We're better than unicorns because we're real. Or is it that just we want to be like the cool kids with sparkles and rainbows? So hold up a finger, 1, 2, 3, or 4. If you want to do multiples, you can hold up multiple fingers. Okay, I see a 4, a 1. I see a 1. Okay, I say a 2. Wow, you guys are all over the map. Okay, I see 2 2s. So far, 2's winning and 1. So we're tied for 2's and 1's. The company wife and your imagination. So the answer is all of the above, right? Diana, my wife, named the company. I can get into the history of that in the future, but what we do is actually work with companies to help spark their imagination. So when companies say, what's better than unicorns? Or when the 8-year-old girl who came up to me when I was wearing my shirt and said, no, you're not. I said, what? She said, better than unicorns. I said, you're right, because we deal with the imagination, right? We're talking about, if I were to ask you to draw a picture of a unicorn, you would immediately draw a horse, put a horn on it, and that would be basically what everybody does. But we're bigger than that. We're talking about the imagination, the things we haven't perceived yet. Okay, moving along because I'm running out of time already. So some of our customer avatars include team planners, owners of companies, of course, interns and doing training. And this quote from John, who actually is a real client of ours, he said, if you put me in another go-kart, I'm going to quit. And so we said, okay, well, we won't put you in go-karts. We'll do better, and we'll get you flying. We'll do all kinds of things, and we can continue to evolve as your company evolves in terms of bringing you new content. I'm going to skip this video, but it gives, it's a video that we made that, yeah, I'm just going to skip for now. So what we do is team building. That's where we landed right now, is we take corporate teams, we bring them in, and then, or we were bringing them in physically to do team building. This is the Coca-Cola procurement team that is an international team, all came to Asheville and went through the experience with us. Now we are moving to an all remote service providing, and the range of the costs will be between $2,000 and $8,000 for 1 to 3 weeks of training. Of course, we're not training for an entire 3 weeks. We are, we're going to be doing segments throughout the weeks, and we've got a whole flow and a process that we do there. This is some actual insight that one of our teams, I'm not gonna name who, came up with as a result of their own experience with us. So we facilitate them through harvesting the experience after they go through the experience. And we have a whole set of ground rules that we use, and we use a debriefing strategy. This is actually one of the things that companies often say is the most valuable piece of what we offer. And it's interesting to me because this is something that I've used since 20 years ago when I became a coach and an outward bound instructor. These are some of the book of business that we have, from Eastman to Coca-Cola, GE, Deloitte and Touche. We've been kind of all over the map, from sales to executives to product developers, designers. We do have a leadership gap. Again, I'm running low on time, so I'm gonna skip over this and leave it for questions. I'd show you some VR, but we'll just leave it there for now. And that's the end of my presentation. Sorry for so much rushing. I didn't time it as well as I would like.
No worries, Brett. Thank you very much.
Do you have a link to the video?
Yeah, I can drop a link to this video right here.
Okay, cool.
Well, we're officially in the Q&A. So if you want to, I don't know how long the videos are, but if you want to go back and
yeah, do you all want to see a little bit of the clip?
A couple clips of videos while people think of some good questions to ask you. It's up to you.
Okay.
So this was me last night playing Zero Gravity Ultimate Frisbee.
Is that a mantra?
Oh, and that's me talking. I'm not trying to do that. So what's happening here is these 4 players that are, or the 3 players that are in front of me, we're on a team and we're playing against 4 other players. And you might be wondering why they all look upside down. But the question I always ask them is, why are they upside down? And the goal is to score the disc in the diamond there that's hovering in space. So this is the most prominent esport right now in virtual reality. And yep, that's one of the things I did last night.
It's really cool. I mean, I have one of these headsets and I just went onto the space station and you just float around. Like, the hard thing in virtual reality is you can't walk around the room because you'll bump into things. But yeah, if you're floating, you can just use your hands to float and grab onto objects. So even going around on the space station when I did it was a little disorienting. So this is probably, I don't know, 6 months of him practicing floating in VR to get as good as this video is, honestly. I would be very disoriented doing this.
So raise your hand, who all has actually done VR and used VR and played a game or video or whatever? Raise your hand.
I played video since I was a teenager.
Have you ever tried a VR?
No, never.
Jennifer?
I saw 2 people raise their hands. Is that right?
I only know because Brian let me use his. So Brian's going to bring his in the next time we do something so everyone can try it. Yeah. Okay, so that makes a difference. So watching this on the screen is like absolutely nothing compared to actually playing it. And you're like surrounded by this thing. Okay. I'll shut up.
I guess my question is, Brett, so, you know, when you went through your explanation, you're all about VR. You're doing a lot of different things. You said you're doing the team building thing. So what, like, you aren't going to put somebody in Echo Arena in a team building thing. So what is the basic thing you do with the team building thing? You come in, you get them oriented to the device, and then what? Give us just a quick rundown on that.
Yeah, right now, the presentation or the structure that we've got set up is that we'll spend time onboarding people into VR, right? So you get the headset in the mail, and then we'll walk through a 20-minute onboarding where we're just orienting you to how to use the controls, how to navigate around. We'll put you into a couple of experiences, and then you'll have some homework to do. And the homework involves watching a few 360 videos. There's one that's very timely called Traveling While Black. And so it gives the experience of being Black in America and traveling around. There are some other experiences that we'll put people into, and then we'll prepare you to go into a team building session. And team building sessions that we do for our initial starter pack are going to be all experiences that are free to license on the Oculus Quest headset. And we're using those free ones for a couple of reasons. One, it can be accessible to a broad scale of people. Also, many of those experiences don't require that you wear the headset. So if someone does feel uncomfortable or uneasy in the headset for long periods of time, they can go back to just looking at their screen and control with their mouse and keyboard. So there's accessibility that we want to make possible for teams. For example, we've got a team that we're talking to that's 75 people big, and inevitably, you know, a sixth of those are going to be uncomfortable in the medium right away. And then, of course, after we do whatever experience we're doing in team building, so we'll custom fit it to the team's challenges, whatever it is they're looking to accomplish with us in their culture or in their performance as a project team, or whatever that might be. And then we will help them harvest all that insight once they've done the experience, which then looks something like this. So now they've got more knowledge about what their strengths, weaknesses, or challenges are, what insights they gained, and then how they can apply that to their day-to-day activities.
Cool. And then you're pivoting this with coronavirus by mailing them the kits or something?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we will package up the kits into little boxes. Right now, they're boxes like this. And then we'll put these into shipping boxes. But our team, one thing that we're aware of, being a 3-year-old team with a name like Better Than Unicorns, is that lots of people love our brand. And so, you know, we've made some cards, and we've got some T-shirts, and we've got some things like that. But almost every corporate team that comes through, there's a mother or a father that comes in and says, my daughter would love a T-shirt. Do you make T-shirts? Can you do a thing? And so we want to brand some good shipping boxes that can easily go back and forth that have Better Than Unicorns on them. We want to make all kinds of card decks and things. So there's a whole merchandising business that's going to be built out of this eventually. But yeah, we would ship the headsets and then either they would buy the headsets or they would rent them from us.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm sort of hogging the questions here, but I guess what are you trying to get out of joining 1 Million Cups today? What feedback and guidance are you looking for from our smart group here?
Sure. I think when I responded to this, actually, Michelle, do you want to ask your question real quick while I pull up the response that I gave?
Yeah, well, I'm just, of course, I like to know how people make money or want to make money, because that's my background is finance. So, well, I guess several questions. Like, are you guys doing something different now than you would have been doing before COVID? Like, obviously in the pictures, people are together. Like, do you have a location that people come to that they do this if they're doing the team building? Do you have other things that you guys sell? And is it only like a rental versus, like, when we do team building at my company, like, we'll go bowling or rent out the laser tag. So like, I'm envisioning laser tag, which is obviously not the same, but and we go rent it out and do that for 2 hours and, you know, try to conquer an obstacle and whatever people do. What is it? Escape rooms and stuff. So
Yep.
like 1 to 3 weeks and you have a rental and 20-minute onboarding and stuff, like that sounds complicated to me.
Sure. It definitely, one of the major changes for us is, as you can see in this shot, one person's wearing the headset and everybody else is not in the headset. So
Right.
we did that largely because as I said, being in the headset is uncomfortable the first time you're in. And so it can take some period of adjustment. And so what we do when we get teams, and we were doing physical in-person stuff, is that we would only have one person in the headset at a time and we would take turns. Now we're shifting that by shipping out, and yes, there's an increased logistical complications that come with this. And so we are going to be encouraging teams to buy their own headsets and go ahead invest in spatial computing, and we can make a pretty strong argument for why it would be valuable to own a headset at this point. And if they decide to rent them from us, there's different sets of logistics. So we're working through those logistics right now. I think that the pricing model still creates a pretty good margin for us. So we're confident in that, and then doing everything remote. So we would be able to use something like Zoom to mitigate our conversation as if we were in person, but then each person has their own headset in their own room. So we would be doing a hybrid between using the headsets and being in Zoom and communicating along those lines. So we've got some pretty good strategies around managing the logistics and the complications there. It's a good question, and it's definitely an area of concern. So thanks for that. I could not find the application that I sent in. So let me answer the question that you had, Brian, about why or what you all can help me do. I think that there's a couple of key areas that we have a gap. We have a public relations team that may be available to us. They're busy with a couple other companies, and they're based in Asheville, but they've got a pretty good global reach. But we still are looking to consider other public relations, specifically ones who can help with thought leadership, because there's a lot of content that's stuck in my brain that I need to get out. And so if I can find a good content director or public relations team that can really help harvest all the insight that I've got and get it into a content campaign, that would be awesome. We do have a product that we want to develop that that requires a serious development team. We potentially have a development leader in LA through Paper Crane Games, but I'd like to have a developer on our team working with that development team. So we're looking for some developers specifically who have experienced VR, ideally one that can handle Oculus development. We definitely need sales and management, sales and marketing help. So yep, so that could be through your network, but we eventually will be hiring a sales director. And then long-range investors. Again, we do have a product that we want to build that would be akin to like Jumanji, right? Where each person plays a specific character, has a specific set of skills or powers, and then you have to solve a set of challenges as a team. And that's the kind of loose design that we've got. But that product, it will take $500,000 to $750,000 to build. And then we've got to build an entire business around that. So that's further down the line, but investors that are interested in talking with us about that, we'd be open to starting those conversations now.
Cool.
This is Chad. I just had a quick question, actually two. So to help me understand the business value, like, is it just that we're creating the ability for people to work better together once they go back to the office? I mean, what does success look like once somebody goes through the program? Maybe, include an example in the response. And then the other thing is, you mentioned you have a program, that folks can take about like navigating the world while being Black. Can you help me understand a little more about how that works and mean, I guess it seems like it could be a timely type consideration, especially with, some of the heightened awareness around cultural relations right now.
Sure. So let me restate the questions because there's two there and I want to make sure I capture them. The latter question was about, could I explain a little bit more about the experience called Traveling While Black and how that works? And the first question was about the value that a company would receive by participating in team building. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. So let's see. Let me bring up this slide again. So the best answer that I can give to what a team receives by doing our starter pack is, again, our mission is increasing human awareness, right? So in this